Most entrepreneurs, they have lots of things in common. They are leaders, not managers. Most of them. They are risk takers, because if not, they will have a 9-to-5 job. They don't scare easily, and they suck at planning.
Welcome to the Profit Answer Man podcast, where business owners learn to scale their profits and cash flow and work less doing it. You built your business to fulfill your dreams and serve your mission. You're the backbone of America, creating the jobs and opportunities that keep our economy moving. And for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. We're Profit First certified. It's the first baby step in a journey we take our clients on, building cash-rich, margin-strong businesses that don't suck the life out of you. Check out the first 13 episodes of the podcast. It's Mike Michalowicz and my review of each chapter of the Profit First book. Around here, we speak cash flow, profit, and practical execution. No accounting jargon, no fluff. Most accountants, they might help you save on taxes, but they'll crush your cash flow and make you look unprofitable. That's not just a poor decision, it's a liability. We help you focus on what you love. And when we partner together, we become a profit center for your business. If we don't deliver a massive ROI on your investment in us, fire us. Want to see how it all works? Watch the video version on YouTube or head over to ProfitComesFirst.com to grab your free copy of the Profit Blueprint book and start making profit a habit. You built this business to serve your mission and your freedom. Let's make sure it pays you back big. Most business owners hustle for revenue, but lose track of profit and cash flow. You don't need to grind harder to grow. You need proven systems that make your business more profitable, your cash flow more predictable, and your life a whole lot easier. That's what I do. I help you to turn confusion into clarity and growth into real wealth that provide you the time and money freedom you deserve. Most business owners dream of rapid growth, but few know how to scale without chaos. What if the key to multiplying your revenue wasn't grinding harder, but thinking like an investor? In today's episode, I'm joined by Alexis Sikorsky, a strategic advisor to founders who are serious about scaling fast and exiting strong. With a 9-figure private equity exit under his belt, he isn't speaking from theory. He's lived the entrepreneurial highs and lows across decades of company building, boardroom negotiation, and international leadership. He's the author of Cashing Out, where he shares his Apex methodology, a 4-part framework that helps founders move from overwhelm to clarity, from growth to a powerful, profitable exit. We'll unpack how he did this and created his exit and ideas you can use for your business. Let's meet Alexis. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Alexis Sikorsky. It's great to have you join us today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited for the conversation. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
I started a company in Switzerland, in Geneva, in 2000. Grow it through mainly M&A till 2008. And 2008, as you know, it's not just another date. So let me tell you where I was in 2008, because it's important for what I do now. 2008, the company is doing 10 million revenues, 2.5 million EBITDA, and I'm the king of the world. Like literally, I'm so smart. I know everything. Company has been growing. I'm rocking it. I think I'm so intelligent and so smart, and what can go wrong, right? So my company is 2008, does one thing and one thing only, builds software for banks, specifically for private banks. And 2008, if you remember, was not the best date in the world for the banking industry. So one day, literally on a given Thursday, I get phone calls from my clients that, by the way, we're not buying anything from you anymore. And I lost on one day 75% of my revenues. So go from 10 million to 2.5 million, and from 2.5 million EBITDA to minus 5 million EBITDA, right? Simple math. And that's when the grinding years start, where really like have to fire most of the employees. And if the listener are entrepreneur, they know what it is, right? You're a small company at 10 million. You know everybody. People are your friends. Some of these people were actually my family members that you have to fire. And then I had to mortgage my house. And for 4 or 5 years, the only question is, do we continue? Do we go on? Are we like putting good money to chase bad money? And then 2014, by some kind of creative accounting, you could say the company was back to break even. And that's when I get the phone call from a private equity who said, I want to buy your company. And if you're an entrepreneur, you know you get these phone calls twice a week, right? And you never answer. But for some reason, I was working with my brother at that time, and he told me, these guys they are French. They know your culture. They are software people. They sold their software company. That's how they started their private equity. Talk to them. Okay. So they came to Geneva, and I've been super honest and transparent with them, which I think you should always do with private equity. And I told them, I said, listen, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I've been running this company for 14 years now. I've been grinding for 5. I'm exhausted and I'm absolutely ready to sell to you, but now is not the moment because the company is just break even, right? It's hard to sell at that point. And I told them, I'll make you a deal because you came and because you trusted me and because you wanted to talk to me. You come back in 2 years, and in 2 years, I'm not going to go through an auction. I'm not going to go through a due diligence. You make me a decent offer and I'll sell to you. And they listen and they say, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Actually, we're going to do something else. They say, you go home, you prepare a business plan, and we come back next week. I made a business plan with my brother, and the least you can say is we've been optimistic on the business plan, which you're allowed. You're not allowed to lie even $1 about the past, but when you dream the future, you're allowed to dream, right? It's why it's called a business plan. I think I made a business plan that showed like 3 million EBITDA in 2 years, considering I've been losing money for the past 5 years. So it was very, very optimistic. And I take them back and I show them the business plan and say, good, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to buy your company now. We're going to pay 11 times your EBITDA in 2 years. We're going to pay 85% cash right now and 15% earn out. And that's when I thought it was actually a friend who was doing a practical joke or something. But no, it was the proper offer. So that's what I called at the time an offer you cannot refuse. So I accepted the offer, sold 77% of the company, kept 23, run it with them for 2 years. And after 2 years, I made more money out of the earnout that I made out of the cash. And that's a really, really interesting lesson.
So what was the lesson there? Because something dramatically shifted in those 2 years. And for somebody to pay you that kind of money of future hope is not normal.
Well, I do a few talks with universities, and that's the point usually when I stop and ask the students, why did they do that? Why did you think they did that? That's the question, right? The reason they did that is the reason most entrepreneurs leave money on the table when they sell their company. It's because they know what you don't know. You know what you did with the company. You know a little bit what you will do with the company in the next 2 years, but what you don't know at all is what they bring to the table. Knowledge, experience, network, commercial ability, fantastic cost-cutting ability that you didn't even know existed. Basically, they're paying you for what you think you're going to be doing, but they don't pay you for what they know they will be doing. That's why they end up making more money at the earnout, because the 3 million I anticipated, which was super like optimistic, end up to be, don't remember exactly, but like 4.5 or 5.
What did they do different? What did they know that you didn't know?
Put yourself back in my shoes, right? At the time, it's 2014, 15. I'm 45 years old, and all I've known basically in my life is being an entrepreneur. First in Switzerland, then in France, then in Africa, then back in Switzerland, in Singapore. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. Most my venture has failed before this one. And every day that my company gets different, it's a prototype for me. So I'm basically surviving, and I have very little skill as an entrepreneur. I have the skill I acquired through the grind, but I have no formal training and no experience outside of this company. Facing me are people who are older than me and who bought and sold first a $1 billion company on their own before they started the private equity, and then multiple $100 million plus company. That's what they do, right? And at the moment they're talking to you, they run 8 companies that are pretty similar to yours in size and in market. And so they know they're just better than me at knowing all that stuff. So on the day-to-day stuff, I can give 10 examples, but there's one I like to give because it's very explicit. So I have a small development team in Geneva, big development team in Singapore. In between the two, I have a leased internet line who cost me a lot of money, like $500,000 per year. And I'm a tech guy. So when my CTO tells me I need a leased internet line, I'll question him and he has to convince me. And every year he convinced me and he was right. We actually needed this lease line. So when you sell to a private equity, you interact mainly with 2 people. You interact with a general partner who will usually talk to you once a month, and you interact with a guy who's usually younger, who, by the way, became a close friend of mine, and who's interact with you on a weekly, at least weekly basis. My GP was actually interacting more once a week than once a month. So the very, very hands-on private equity. So he came to me and he said, what's that $500,000? I explained. He said, yeah, we're going to shut that down. And I said, you can't. And I explained to him why you can't, because he's a tech guy as well. He said, yeah, let me try something. So he picked up his phone, called the CTO and said, just to let you know, in 3 months, we're shutting down the internet line between Geneva and Singapore. And the guy was explaining to him, and he said, yeah, if that really doesn't work for you, I think you'll have to quit because I'm shutting down the internet line. 3 months later, they find workaround and we never had to pay for this internet line. So that's one example, but there's many, many, many examples like that. Or they know stuff you don't.
He challenged your beliefs, right? How often do you see business owners who say, oh, we can't cut costs, we can't do anything, there's no way around that? And yet they said, you know what? Figure it out. $500,000 is a good reason to figure something out.
Yeah, especially when they sell the company. At the end of the day, this $500,000 per year is $6-7 million in their pocket, right?
At a 12 times multiple, yeah, it is. And that's an interesting thing that I don't think people realize when it comes to selling. And even on the smaller side, let's say it's a 4 multiple, a 6 multiple. If you've built it a 10, 12 multiple, you hire family members for $50,000 and they don't really do much. On a 6 multiple, that's $300,000 out of your pocket on top of the 50 a year. And that goes for every other expense you're doing. And if you don't realize that, that's why they tell you it takes a few years to prepare to sell, because not everyone's going to build it on a multiple you gave them on a piece of paper for what could be possible.
I call that period dressing the bride. It's a funny story. So for the 2 years before the earnout, I was going to Paris once a month for a board meeting. And then asked me, why do you never expense your plane ticket or your hotel room? Why? I said, why would I do that? Like, a plane ticket is $1,000. If I expense it, I get $1,000. If I don't expense it, in 2 years, I get $10,000. Why would I expense it? So that makes them laugh a lot. That's when they realize they're going to pay me a lot of money for the earnout.
But you thought ahead like that.
Yeah, I got lucky, Rocky. It's like when I tell my story, do not think like everything was planned. And because everything I teach or I advise my clients now, it's not the stuff I did. It's the stuff I didn't do. And I learned how much it cost me to not doing it. I did a mental exercise because it's fun. I'm thinking, okay, let's imagine I'm starting new access, not in 2000, but now, knowing what I know now and imagining the market is comparable, which by the way it is. What would be the outcome? And the outcome for me is 50 million more 5 years earlier. So the total cost of my mistake is 5 years and 50 million, which is not too bad, actually. It could be way worse. Lots of people I know, total cost of their mistake is bankrupt and suicide. So it's not too bad.
No, not too bad. I don't think people think enough about the actual cost of their mistakes, and they do add up. So let's not make mistakes.
I don't think people think enough in general.
No, which kind of leads me to the point that I've heard you say that people don't have a plan, nor do they plan well.
Okay, we're talking entrepreneur there. So most entrepreneurs, and I was one of them, they have lots of things in common. They are leaders, not managers. Most of them. They are risk takers, because if not, they will have a 9-to-5 job. They don't scare easily, and they suck at planning. Don't ask me why, but we all do that. They always go to the next shiny thing. The most important mistake they make, in my opinion, is confusing what's urgent with what's important. Yes, you have 10 clients who are in urgent need of you. Actually, they are not. They're in urgent need of the company. They're not in urgent need of you. What's urgent need of you is the vision, is talk to your shareholders, is go get the next big client. That's you. Extinguishing fire, it's urgent, but it's not important. It's not you. So yeah, they don't plan well enough. And a lot of them don't know who they are and what their company is. And that's super important. And that's usually the first conversation. And that's the main reason I say no to 90% of the people who contact me, because lots of them, I cannot help them. Who are you? What do you want to achieve with your business? I summarize it in what's your number, but it's a little more than that. Like, how much do you want to sell this? First of all, do you want to sell this company, or do you want to leave it to your children? Is it lifestyle company? You're happy taking $1 million out of the company every year, pay your vacation, pay your lifestyle? Fantastic. I love you for doing that. It's fantastic. I love lifestyle business, but I bring no value to these people because it's all about operational efficiency, which I know nothing about. And it's all about tax optimization, which is not my specialty. So for these people, there's nothing I can do. So what do you want? What's your number? How much do you want to sell your company for? And how much time do we have? That's the two questions. I want to sell my company for 100 million in 5 years. 5 years is a little too long. Usually my max is 4 years, but I want to sell my company for 100 million in 4 years. I'm now making 10 million revenue. That means I need to make 40 million revenue. So now I know I need to quadruple your company in 4 years. And what does that entail? And that's where I actually bring value.
All right. Everyone wants to know, how do I quadruple my company in 4 years?
It depends on your company, but if you want a one sentence answer, it's M&A. Buy something, buy stuff. That's how you quadruple in 4 years.
That's what people don't realize. So the question then comes, is it easier or is it less expensive to buy revenue than it is to build revenue? In other words, try a marketing program, do this, do that. And how do you know if you're buying the right revenue, so to speak?
Okay. Two very different questions. It's almost always cheaper to buy revenue than to build it for many reasons. One, because time is money and it goes faster. But the other reason is you're not going to use mainly your money to do that. You're going to use bank money. And there's nothing easier than to finance an LBO, right? So You want to buy 10 million revenue. So that's 2 million EBITDA. You think it's going to cost you 20 million, but it's going to cost you 4 and the other 16 you'll get from the bank. So that's actually most of this acquisition is free. And how do you know if you buy the right revenue? Unfortunately, it's an answer I'm going to do often. Talk to people who know what they're talking about because it's tricky. M&A has two characteristics. One, it's hard. Like you have lots of stuff in the business that are hard because they're not well planned. M&A is hard because it's hard. You're bringing two different cultures. You're bringing different teams together. It's hard. That's first characteristic. Second characteristic, it's fun as hell. It's so much fun. So like you spend 10 years like grinding, growing your business, talking to clients, talking to staff, dealing with staff issue. Nothing of that is fun. And suddenly you're acquiring a company and most of your day is fun. So that's also very important. You need a bit of fun at that stage.
How do you know what you're buying is the right company? How do I even know I can trust the data?
That's called due deal. That's easy. That's not the hard part. The hard part is two things. How do I know the stuff I'm buying, whatever that is going to make sense to my customer and the stuff I'm selling is going to make sense to their customer, right? Because you have 1 million, you put it together, you have 2 million, you didn't grow that much. You grow when your stuff you can sell to their guy and their stuff you can sell to your guy. If you have that, you're golden. And that's why I hate acquiring a direct competitor. Like you build swimming pool, you buy a guy who builds swimming pool. I hate it because basically you spend the last 5 years saying, you know what, this company who builds swimming pools, they're shit. Like don't buy from them, buy from us. And then you go see your client and say, you know what? Actually, they are not so bad. They're actually very, very good. And we acquired them. And that in software is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Yeah.
But I could see that with certain products. But if I were buying, let's say we're a trade company, so maybe a plumber. If he were to buy another plumbing house that's 20 miles away, so he's expanding his reach, does it then make more sense?
Yeah, that's a build-up play, right? The problem for you have one, you bought one, you still have two at the end. You don't have
correct.
Three, right?
You have no multiplier.
So for that to work, it's actually I love build-up plays, but they're tricky because you have to go very, very, very fast. If you're a plumber, and I'm actually doing that with a client of mine right now because it's super fun. You don't buy one plumber, you buy 10. And suddenly you don't have 10, you have 15 because then you can put the admin in common. You have buying power. When you do an acquisition, you always try to do more than 1 + 1. Doesn't mean that 1 + 1 is bad. It's already good, but you try to do more. So the specific build-up play, I have a friend in California who literally made billion buying bakeries. He bought 500 bakeries, turned it into a massive chain, branded it, resell it to a food specialized private equity. I think he made $1 billion. So build-up play can be really, really good, but you have to go so fast because it's so people dependent. You have to put processes in place. You have to put branding, have to go really, really fast. And you have to have super fast access to capital because it's expensive it's cheap to buy one, but to buy 20, it's expensive. Having said that, I talk about that like it's my specialty. It's not. That you have people who are really specialized in build-up. So the one thing you need to be sure that what you're selling is good for their client and what they're selling is good for your clients. That's why I love joining businesses. Like I had a front office software for the banks and I acquired a back office. That makes really, really lots of sense because my front office client bought the back office. My back office bought the front office. And there's a lot of failure in buying competitor. And that's happened a lot in the back office in banks, for example. You say, okay, I'm going to buy this back office who's very small, who's not super efficient, and I'm going to install my back office to all their clients, get rid of the company, and suddenly I have the revenue and I don't have the costs anymore. Yeah, that never works. Because the client that say, you had products X for 10 years, we bought them, and now we're not going to support product X, you're going to install product Y. And they say, fuck you. We're going to go to the market and we're going to find the best product. We have no incentive in buying your product, actually. So that's tricky. So that's the first part. And the second part, you need to be reasonably sure that you can incorporate the cultures. There is no shortcut. You need a specialist. You need somebody who knows how to do that. It's tricky.
You assume that there is a culture that has been built in the business you're running. I mean, yes, there's a culture, but was it intentionally built for you?
Absolutely not. The fact that it's intentionally built or not is totally irrelevant. I was not Google. I had no idea what a company culture even meant at the time. The company culture was my culture, right? It was like somewhere between a Jewish family and Italian mob. Somewhere in between was the culture of the company. And like ridiculous stuff, like you don't leave the family and like loyalty over everything. So that kind of stuff was our culture. Very, very horizontal, loose leadership. I loved being challenged by people. When I have to take a decision, I take a decision. And if I have my whole board against me, I say, well, what's a pity? It's not a democracy. But most of the time, people come to me with a question and I said, just fix it. It's your fucking job, not mine. Like, I trust you. I gave you that job because I trust you. So that was basically the culture. And if you acquire a company that's like has a very vertical culture, very hierarchical, where people do like 7 forms every time they need to buy a pencil, you can anticipate you're going to have a cultural clash.
And that was my point. You have to be clear on that, right? So that people know what it is, and you have to be intentional. Otherwise, you have total chaos, I think, afterwards.
And one thing you have to be very, very clear about, and that's going to make me sound a little bit like an asshole, but you have to be very clear on who's buying and who's getting bought. It is not a merger among equals, right? Hi, guys, I'm your new boss. I love you. This is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to happen. This is what's going to happen to you. Are you okay with that? Or do you want to question it? Do you want to discuss it? I'd be super happy to hear you because you have experience on stuff that I don't. So please interact with me. Please tell me what you think. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that's going to make the decision. So this level of clarity is super, super important. And also be really aware of the quality of the people you're acquiring. So I didn't intend to talk about M&A in such details, but it's important. After the private equity, our company was doing 15 million revenue, and we bought a company who was doing 45. So that was triple our size. We were front, we bought back. We were sandals and t-shirts. They were suits and tie. I was relatively inexperienced, fun CEO, and the CEO of this company was 10 years older than me, very experienced in international group. Do the merger went super well because basically techs work well with tech, and we know very, very well how to integrate tech teams. These guys became head of sales, all good. And I'm talking to the guy and I'm like, shit, like, no, that's really wrong. So I went to see the private equity and say, guys, like, we are idiots. This guy is way more experienced than I am. He should be the CEO, not me. Like, I immediately realized the guy would be a much better CEO than I was. So I went to see the private equity and said, the guy needs to be CEO, not me. And they chairmaned me, which is the best thing that can happen to you. I let you on a secret. When you can become the chairman, it's basically you get the exact same amount of money, but instead of working 16 hours a day, you work half a day per month. Much, much, much better job.
Do you have to have the self-awareness to step out of that role of CEO, president, and say, the other guy's smarter than me. That's not so easy for entrepreneurs, is it?
No, it's not easy and it's tricky because it's a mix, right? You have to have a little bit of your own reality distortion field because if not, life is just too hard. If you actually see how bad you are and how hard life is, you don't become an entrepreneur. But on the other hand, you have to be quite astute in terms of knowing who you're talking to. But for me, it was a bit easier because I'm literally good at nothing. I'm a mediocre. No, literally. Like lots of founders are people who are really good at something and try to step in a job that's bigger, right? You have fantastic sales. There's a good chance you'll be a good entrepreneur. You are the best AI guy in the world. There's a good chance you're going to have a good AI company. Me, it's different. I'm literally good at nothing. And at the beginning, the very, very beginning of the company, where there were 4 of us, I was writing a little bit of codes. And the other 3 coders, they came to my office and say, let's do something a little bit different. You're going to go talk to the client. You're going to let us code because we spend more time fixing your bugs than actually rewriting the thing. So I'm literally good at nothing. So every time I hire somebody, literally from the CTO to the janitor, it's somebody who's better than me at what they do. So it's easy to get this humility to that's something I see a lot in entrepreneurs, right? They only hire people who are not as good as they are because they feel threatened. And that's a big no-no. Of course you want your IT guy to be better than you at IT. Of course. If not, what's the point?
You've been through bad times. You went through 2008. What are your thoughts on having a war chest of cash for bad times?
My thought, if you don't have one or if you don't plan to have one, I don't talk to you. I have a few absolute red flag deal breakers when new clients want to work with me. You don't have a war chest, the next 6 months are going to be focusing on building your war chest. Agree? If you don't agree, I'm out. It's crucial.
How big of a war chest do you think people need?
Depend on your business. I'd say most business, I'll go around 9 months to a year, because if it's long enough to make a baby, it's long enough to get you out of the hole. So around 9 months to a year. In very specific cases, in very recurring revenue businesses, I'll go as low as 6 months, but it's rare, 9 to 12.
How do most people feel when you tell them you should have 9 to 12 months of cash?
Well, they think I'm an idiot, but they think that about so many stuff I tell them, so it doesn't bother me. I explain that it's not like, oh, will shit happen? Shit will happen. The question is when and how big. Unless you've been living in a hole in the past 50 years, you should know that. If it's not the global financial crisis, then it's the internet bubble. It's not the internet bubble, it's Trump tariff. Shit will happen. How do you prepare to that with no cash? And it pisses me off because this war chest is ammunition I don't have for M&A. It pisses me off. I like when they already have a war chest because then the cash we generate. I enter a company when they do 10 million within, let's say they do 2 million EBITDA when I enter the company. Within 6 months, they should be doing 3. This extra million, I want to use it for M&A, not to fill the war chest. But if they don't have one, that's what we're going to do.
No, I totally agree with you. What are some of the other red flags for you?
First of all, I only talk to people who can make the decisions. I'm too old for office policy bullshit, and I have to talk to my board and it's either founder or co-founder, but I talk to the guy who can actually make the decisions. So that's a big red flag. And I only talk to people who want to grow and sell their company, not because I'm an asshole and not because I disrespect people who want to run a very profitable business. But again, I bring no value. My value is growing and selling and talking to private equity. I used to be extremely specific on people who wants to sell to private equity. I've been a little more reasonable on that. If you want to sell to a strategic, I still can help. I'm losing a bit of my value because I really speak private equity, and that's a big value. I'm still pretty good in a sales negotiation. So But the biggest red flag is people who don't know where they're going. That's a human part, right? You need to find somebody you like. If I don't like and respect and look up to the founder, there is a big chance it's not going to work so well. Same the other way. Like I can love someone, but he said, you know what? I don't feel you. And that makes sense. I have lots of stuff. I'm very contrarian on lots of opinion. Some people don't like that. I don't talk any kind of bullshit. So people don't like that. So I'm an acquired taste. So I'd say another red flag. If the guy hates me, it's not going to work.
I think success is an acquired taste too.
I agree. And actually, my only USP is been there, done that, right? Like you have so many coaches, mentors, advisor, consultant who tell you how to do stuff they never did. My favorite is you probably get a lot of these is the social media gurus who literally call me every 20 minutes. My phone number and my email must be some kind of list of idiots who pay any kind of money to bad social media people, which is a good list. I do. And they explain to you how they'll get you to 150,000 followers and they're the best in the world to do that. And then you go see their account and they have 7,000 followers and you're like, why don't you apply to yourself what you're teaching to me? Yeah. The credibility of having done it is, I think it's important.
I don't worry about followers. I worry about the number of people paying me.
Yeah, I have no idea of all this social media. I think I know they send me an invoice every month and I pay insane amount of money and it brings me absolutely nothing. So
that's all good. Any parting advice for our business owners?
At some point, you will hit a plateau. You'll have a few growth crises and growing pains. And that's been open any business book and they'll tell you where they are and why and how to fix them. But you have one plateau that's difficult to overcome. It's the 5 to 10 million plateau. When you reach 5 to 10 million revenue in your company, usually what happens is you get stuck and you get stuck for a number of reasons. But I usually identify 3 main reasons. Is one, you're tired and people count the impact of the founders being really tired. Took you a while to get there. You're tired, which means you spend way more time in the company and not enough time on the company. You confuse what's urgent with what's important. And that's a super easy fix. We actually have a methodology to fix that. We call it firing yourself from the company. And you identify the task you're uniquely qualified to do. It's not that hard. Second problem you have, you don't know your company well enough and your numbers are not good enough. And if you challenge me on that, you're wrong, I'm right. I have enough experience. I'm yet to meet an entrepreneur in the 5 to 10 million range that has very clear monthly dashboard of the company from a financial point of view.
Unless they're my clients, because they all do. Each and every one of them.
And I'm proud of you and you're doing a fantastic job. And the third thing, and that's where we bring a big fix, is you get to the point when you need C-level people and you cannot afford C-level people. And that's super key. You do 5 million, you have 1 million EBITDA, you need a CFO, you need a CTO, you need a head of marketing, you need a head of sales. And you know what? Your cousin who's doing your books, he's probably super, super good. Doesn't mean he's a CFO. I'm not saying fire your cousin. I'm saying your cousin must be chaperoned or mentored by a proper CFO, etc. And that goes for every C-level. And what we offer to these people is I called all my friends I've been working with 40 years. They're all 30 years experienced C-level people, and we bring them in company as a team. Like things Navy SEALs. We come for 6 months, fix the stuff and get out. So that's the 3 things you should think about when you reach your plateau.
You're absolutely right. That the number one reason people come to me is they have grown their revenue and they're wondering where their cash is because they're not enjoying the rewards of their work. They're working too hard and they finally want to do something about it. My only question is, how big of a hole did you dig? And can we get you to climb out of it? You know, if you come to me early, we don't have a hole we can take off, right? But if you dug a hole, it takes a lot to come out of that hole, and people don't realize that.
You have your revenue, you have your EBITDA, and then the revenue goes up and the EBITDA goes down. It's super common.
And that's what's supposed to happen. Too often, the revenue goes like this, and then the EBITDA goes above the revenue. And because something happens with revenue and they don't know fast enough that they need to stop spending, and they get upside down, and that's where the problems occur. So that's why you need that monthly dashboard that you talk about. And even more so than that, we want to know your leading indicators. I want to know what's happening today that's going to tell me whether you're going to have a revenue problem in 3 months or 6 months, and what does that look like? And that's what we try to help them get to.
And you need your LTV, and you need your CAC, and you need all your indicators.
All of that.
But you also need to know your customers better. You don't know your customers well enough. You know why you don't know your customers well enough? Because you don't talk to them. Like most entrepreneurs, they do the client satisfaction survey. So that's the best thing. Give them a hard on. You could actually take your money and spend it, because that's completely useless. You want to talk to your client? Just go fucking talk to them. Buy them a beer. Spend an hour with them. People love telling you about themselves. They love telling you what you're doing wrong. Don't go see all the clients that are super happy because they don't bring any information to you. Go see the clients that have been annoying, that you feel are not super happy, and that's how you know them. Yeah, all that is super key.
It is. I think most of the things that they need to do are actually super cheap, and yet they want a complicated solution instead of the easy one, and it drives me crazy. So I get it.
Common sense over MBA every day of the life.
Yes, I agree with you. I have an MBA. It didn't teach me how to run a business.
I have an executive MBA in Oxford. Didn't teach me how to run a business. But to be honest, I did it way after I ran the business. So
that's fine. If people are listening and they're like, oh, I can get through all his red flags, where can they find you?
Just find my name on LinkedIn. I'm lucky enough that I'm not John Smith, so I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn, and just message me.
We will do that. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rocky.
Sometimes what we need more isn't motivation, it's blunt truth. And that's exactly what you heard today. Alexis laid out clearly what you don't know about your business can cost you millions. The difference between scaling smart and losing it all comes down to planning, awareness, and having the right systems in place. How often do I have to repeat myself? So ask yourself, how many 7-figure mistakes do you want to make? Because here's the thing, even a 6-figure business owner is capable of a 7-figure mistake when they're not watching the numbers or the cash flow. That's why I help business owners build clarity and profit discipline into their operations, so you keep more of what you earn and sleep better at night. Remember, you don't need more resources. You need more systems. You need to be more resourceful and have ideas that allow you to do this. That's what we do for our clients. And at the end of the day, we got to focus on the bottom line, which is profit and cash flow in your pocket. Thanks for listening to The Profit Answer Man, where we believe more revenue doesn't mean more profit, and the bottom line is what really matters. If you're ready to stop living check to check, take control of your cash flow, and finally get paid what you're worth, we should talk. We work with 7- and 8-figure businesses and well-funded startups. If you're a smaller business, check out the Profit Blueprint program. It's a do-it-yourself solution that also can come with my direct guidance in the same level we give our one-on-one clients. When you're ready for results, book a discovery call. There's a link in the show notes or at profitcomesfirst.com. you'll be speaking and working directly with me. In the meantime, grab your free copy of the Profit Blueprint at profitcomesfirst.com. It's the next step to turning your business into a consistent cash flow generating machine. If you'd like to dig more into leading yourself, your company, and building the ultimate life, listen to my other podcast, Richer Soul, where we cover these topics in great depth. There's a link in the show notes. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.